We're joined by Republican Senator and presidential candidate Ted Cruz. Good to see you, Senator.
Megan, good to be with you.
Was it a fair question? Was it a fair issue?
Oh, it was absolutely a fair question, and I'll tell you what was nonsense is the president's answer. There are 4 American hostages in Iran, held for professing their Christian faith, held for one journalist exercising his First Amendment rights. And in the entire course of President Obama and John Kerry and the administration popping champagne and celebrating this deal with Iran, they did nothing to free those imprisoned Americans. It was one of the many shameful aspects of this catastrophic Iran deal.
You know, the president says this is the best possible deal we could have gotten.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement today that said this was a catastrophic mistake. And he said the one person who's telling the truth is the president of Iran, Rouhani, who said we got everything we wanted. This deal ensures that Iran either, number one, will acquire nuclear weapons, or number 2, will necessitate military action from the United States or Israel. In addition to that, if this deal goes through, and I hope that Congress steps up and stops it, billions of dollars will flow from the United States of America to Iran, the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world. That money will be spent by jihadist terrorists to murder Americans, to murder Israelis, to murder Europeans. If this deal goes through, the Obama administration will become the leading financier of terrorism against America in the world. This is, I've heard this referred to before as the jihadist stimulus bill.
Let me shift gears with you on the subject of money. We began the show by talking about Planned Parenthood and that disturbing video. You've been pushing now to defund this group. They say taxpayer money doesn't go to abortion and abortion remains legal, and that group helps prevent unwanted pregnancies.
Look, these tapings of Planned Parenthood selling body parts are grotesque. It highlights the evil of what they're doing.
They say it isn't a sale.
You know, 2 things need to happen. Number 1, there needs to be a criminal investigation. There are at least 3 federal laws that are potentially violated. 1, selling the body parts of unborn children for profits. Number 2, for any transfer of tissue, there has to be written consent from the mother. And number 3, under federal law, you cannot change the method of abortion if you're trying to get tissue. In that tape, you see they're discussing different methods to capture. And so I'm calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate has federal law been violated, and I'm calling on state officials in any location where Planned Parenthood exists for state district attorneys, state attorneys general to investigate criminal conduct.
We're already seeing a push for that by Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal and his state.
And I'll say in addition that I serve on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I believe the Judiciary Committee will hold oversight hearings to get to the bottom of what they did. And I'll tell you right now, I chair the Oversight, Federal Rights, and Federal Courts Subcommittee. And if the full committee doesn't hold hearings, I intend to hold hearings to get to the bottom of what appear to be barbaric practices being carried out by Planned Parenthood.
The tape could not be more disturbing. Senator, let me shift gears with you now, because you came to this studio after a meeting with Donald Trump, which made everybody was speculating. Why are the 2 of you meeting today? Even he said early this morning, I don't know why we're meeting. Why were you meeting? What happened?
Well, Donald and I are friends. We've gotten together a number of times before he was a candidate for president. We got together and visited today. You know, I like Donald because he's brash, he's bold, and he speaks the truth. He stands up to Washington. It's what I've tried to do in my public office, and people are fed up with politicians. They're fed up with what I call the Washington cartel. Career politicians, Republicans and Democrats, who get in bed with the lobbyists and special interest. And I in particular salute Donald Trump for focusing on the problem of illegal immigration.
But has he been too bombastic? Has he been too incendiary? This is what a lot of other Republicans have said, that his messaging is not very good for the GOP brand.
Well, look, he speaks in colorful terms. He doesn't speak the way you or I speak. But an awful lot of Republican 2016 candidates went out of their way to beat him with a stick. And I'm not going to join them. I'm not going to join them because I salute him for shining a light on the problem of illegal immigration, on the safety issues, on sanctuary cities.
Now, some say you should be mad at him because he's stealing your numbers in the polls, that his numbers have gone up in direct proportion to the hit you've taken in some of the polls.
You know what? People are fed up with career politicians in Washington, and they're coming to me. They're coming to Donald Trump. You want to know how we're doing? We just announced our fundraising numbers. Out of 16 candidates in the Republican primary, do you know who raised the most of all 16? We did. We raised $14.3 million hard money for the campaign. Second place is Jeb Bush at 11.3.
You only have $10 billion to go to catch up with Donald Trump and his wealth.
Now, that's true enough.
But there is some very good news for you tonight, which is after all this controversy, you are now on the New York Times bestseller list. Your book will be number 7 there. You go, James is happy for you. And my question to you is, do you think the public pressure led them to reach a different conclusion? Because they're saying they applied the same criteria this week as they did last.
Oh, look, of course it did. I mean, if you look at last week, they had 20 books on their list. My book, A Time for Truth, outsold 18 of them. And yet they don't want people to read the book, A Time for Truth. They left it off, and then an amazing thing happened. Number one, they accused me of bulk sales. I said, that's a lie. Either produce your evidence or apologize. Then my publisher, HarperCollins, came out and said, that's a lie. We have all the sales data. There are no bulk purchases.
Amazon, too.
But then Amazon and Barnes & Noble both came out and said that's a lie. So I'm glad the New York Times listed it. I appreciate their listing it. But it seems to me there are a lot of conservative authors the New York Times discriminates against. There is a need for the public editor of the New York Times to investigate their methodology. They leveled a false charge at me that has been refuted publicly. And if the New York Times, if they want to be credible journalists, the public editor needs to investigate their methodology, see if they're discriminating against authors that they may have different political views from.
Sure would be good to get a look at it. Senator, great to see you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks for being here.